It's Matt for newshooter.com at Cinegear 2019, and with Jeremy from Atomos. Now, this is your new neon range that was just announced today.
Yes.
Tell me all about it.
Okay, so it goes from 17 to 55 inch. There's a 24 and a 31 in between. And because we know each other pretty well, New Shooter, and thanks for your support on getting the message out to the customers. This started 4 years ago on the set of Pirates of the Caribbean from one of our early adopter customers that's a company called XM2.
Who make drones.
Who make drones. Their camera operators decided to go make drones for Hollywood, which means they can control them really well. And so they've been really successful at Disney films and just on Star Wars and stuff like that. So it's all the really big names. But they called me up and said, do you want to come up and see how your Shogun's being used? And much as it pays me to say it, there was a Teradek bolt on the back of it, and I had to hold the Teradek while they were shooting Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was an amazing experience. But what I saw on set, hundreds of 17, 24, 31-inch monitors, and no one except the drone operator with a 7-inch. And I went, I would love a piece of that action. So I started to research through that crowd. I met some directors, Paul Cameron on that set, and obviously a guy called Stephen O who owns XM2. We started to, what do you really want? What do you want to see? Viewing angle, top of the list. I'm sitting there with you, I trust your opinion, but you're viewing something different. This is a 180-degree viewing angle. It's a Panasonic display panel that was invented by Hitachi, bought by Panasonic, and it means that the way the LCD's laid down is completely uniform, no crosstalk, so you don't get any viewing angle issue. Amazing stuff. Never knew that before. So that's what's in this. And not only this, it's in the 55, it's in all of them. Exactly the same glass. So you'll never have a viewing angle. You can put it here, you can put it here, you can go this angle. It's amazing. The next thing was zoned texture of shading that that we've announced at Shogun 7, and that was about 2 years ago. We realized if you don't have that shading, you can't really recreate dynamic range like real life. So we invested heavily in that. That is now 512 zones, and we analyze that on the way in real time, and we turn between 0 and 1 million grey levels, and it's amazing. It really does do a lot to saturate colour. Speaking of colour, it's DCI P300%. We couldn't quite get to 105 like we did on the Shogun 7, but it's damn good. It's 1,000 nits, peak brightness, but with that range and the control, you get that 1:1 contrast ratio, which is really, really nice.
And these are your first true 10-bit panels as well.
It is, and that's because of the Panasonic panel. So we've always, as you know, been able to take the 10 or 12-bit in, but then we'd have to FRC it 8+2, which is dithering kind of graphics card, 1980s stuff, which works, but it's not as good. And now we can do the dithering on like a 12-bit. So you actually get this huge increase. So I really feel like we've built these panels to ensure that future-proof is the way forward. Why is it future-proof? They're all 4K, which means, 10 years, I reckon, that panel's going to be relevant. It's wide color. It's high dynamic range for brightness. It records ProRes RAW 4K 60. It does all that a Shogun does.
Again, with the recording, was that something that was feedback from the film community saying we'd want to be able to record on board?
Yeah, it was. And it actually came from Stephen, the XM2 owner, because you know what? And I'm going to get him in trouble here. I won't say which movies, but there's quite a few of them that his little Shogun, Inferno, recorded some probably footage that shouldn't have. And they used to review it together. So now they use it to be able to sit there at night. You're a professional, you want to do better. You sit there with your mates after the job and you go, could we have done that better? Review what you've got. Well, if it's all locked down and in a vault somewhere, how can you do that? We give the accessibility to do that in the downtime, in the bit when you're changing scenes, in the let's move over to this way. That's what he uses it for. So the reason we put it in was the request from the directors and the camera assistants and even the grip guys. They're like, I didn't like that. They're inputting. Because these people have brains. They're not just, dumb people sitting on set. They want it. They know they're looking at a rubbish image when the camera operator's looking at a good one. So we want to give that across the board. And that's why. Pricing? You want to know pricing?
No. I was going to say, so, for instance, if you're shooting on a RAW format.
Yeah.
And this is a great way of producing quite a high quality proxy that can be viewed and then turned around quickly without having to do any transcoding or anything along those lines.
Absolutely. That speed of workflow is super important, and that same kind of approach to our what I now call the pro video market, not the entertainment market. We can take that same concept of, which I know you've written quite a lot about, it's really great that you've cut those steps. It's really great that X. And they're all about speed and a bit more creativity or a bit more quality. And the Pirates of the Caribbean thing was the nucleus of it. That also kicked off the RAW discussion because the director was, I want deep color, I want it all. I want all the choices. Because he'll change his mind, as you do as a human, midstream and go, no, I need it to be purple now. And he mightn't have captured the dynamic range required to do that scene that he thought of. So we want to give him that range. That's what RAW did. So the next thing was ProRes RAW. And of course, it's growing and there's more and more cameras coming out. And you can see this year, my statement is that you will see, the 10s and 20s type of cameras coming out this year at the sub $5,000 mark that just give you an amazing experience. And then you throw them as a B camera, C camera on the smaller side, or the bigger ones as A cameras, even recording to this 31. I mean, this is not a stupid concept.
And the other thing I found interesting too is that you're using a new app, an iOS app.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got it here that you can show us.
I do. Here's one I prepared earlier.
So what was the rationale with not putting... I know obviously people don't want to touch a giant big monitor and get fingerprints all over it, but what about not putting in physical controls on the monitor? Was that something you...
Okay, so it was, we grappled with that, absolutely. And you know me, I'm trying to think of it all as we're doing it to make sure we don't miss anything, because that's really good product design, is when people go, oh, that's why they did that. When you first got you see a feature, you're like, I'm not sure what, and then you use it and you go, oh, that's why that's there. We grappled with the fact that our touch screens are really convenient for control, but they do get messy. And I have to clean mine all the time, and I'm worried about that washiness of the image that might come from the grease on the screen. I think everyone's worried about that so they clean it all the time. We don't want that on a reference grading style monitor. So how do we solve that? Well, we can go to your phone or Bluetooth. So we incorporated timecode systems, RF sync, as well as Bluetooth to convert those, so we can control everything through one unit, out through the RF, back again. And we're including in the box a one-button remote control.
One button?
One button, which is dunk, 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 click. It's like a touch screen. So you actually do have the touch controls. The iOS app is more about hitting those global functions around the set. It does all the things that a normal unit would do, but I think you'd do that locally, probably with the remote.
So is the app on here, is this basically just an application version of Atomos?
Exactly, which means when you step in, whether you like the feature or not, you're going to find it familiar. And we're extending that to our desktop app, which then takes out all of the metadata from the RAW and the great things we're receiving that nothing reads yet. And we're going to read it and package it up and send it to XML, Adobe, or whatever, right? Send it wherever you want to go. Those things are really important for the workflow, and we see this as a project manager, as the iOS app. And so you can lock down, everyone's going to be 1-to-1 zoom or 2-to-1 zoom on a 4K image on their focus pull. And you're going to have peaking on, and that's it. And you can set that for everyone. And you can
you make it on one device and it goes out to everything.
So the director can be doing that, or his assistant can be doing that. Those things, I think, are really practical, and you can lock stuff off across the whole production, including ninjas and shoguns, the whole thing. They're all communicating together, which is a big thing.
Is there going to be a way to individually control multiple neons and have different features set by using the remote control, or it just sends the same to everyone?
No. So let me just close that for you so I can show you the start of it. Because when you first come in, it searches the set and gives you every device that's there. And then if I want to control the whole thing, I just go proceed. If I want to control that one, then I go into that one. And then from here, I can flick to any individual one at the same time. There's your monitor functions, they're all there if I want. Anamorphic, it'll update on the unit. We're almost finished this. We're in mass production now for the 7 and 24. They're going out the door in around 4 to 6 weeks. takes longer to make the big ones. I'll tell you.
And pricing, obviously.
Yeah, so $4,399 for the 17. That's the gaffer focus puller next to the camera. 24-inch is the DIT cart, plus starting to be the Video Village. The quality's of the level that I think they would use it for that. At the same time, it starts to be your reference grading monitor next to your edit, right? So you go into computer, you're starting to connect to the computer. Then you go 31, which is really starting to get into that color grading and the top end of the DIT, and definitely into the Video Village side. And then the 50, so that one is at $7,999. The 24 is at $6,499. So 4, 6.5, 8, and then $16,999 for the 55-inch, which is going to be your in the suite showing the client on set going, hey guys, let's really check what we did today. And you've got all the recordings, and as you know, you can do the playlist and go play, and you can do all kind of rushes in front of, on the massive screen that is really high quality. That's our dream, is to give that not just to the $50 million productions, but to the $5,000 productions in the bottom end.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate.